Hey y'all, welcome to Bailey's Last Mile. It'll be a little bit more like Bailey's First Mile today, because I'm starting this as I leave the office instead of on my way, and it's mainly just because I haven't done this in a while. I need to get back to doing it a little bit. But I also have sort of a comment about responsibility, man. And the reason it comes into my head is this morning, and of course I work overnights, and we have some major clients that we'll call in occasionally overnight, and we have to make sure that when we leave for the day, they get handled. And somebody in another office I noticed hadn't handed off. We'd call a handoff because that's what it is. When you hand off to somebody during the day crew, or somebody in the next shift, or the next day if you're not going to be in, we call that a handoff. We give it to somebody else to handle for the next day. By the way, camera angle just it has to be what it is, because this phone doesn't mount real well to this mount, so it kind of has to lean and sit on the dash a little bit so that it stays put. But it is just a simple thing. I mean, as technical as my job is, that is one of the simple things that people escape. It's actually why I do well in most of my employers, is I do the simple things, the responsible things. Even if I am not the most technically adept at what it is I do, my employers have always known that I am going to do the responsible thing, that I'm going to try to do the right thing by the company and by the customer. But it goes down to beyond just, doing what's right at work. Personal responsibility is something that I think is lacking in just life in general these days. Everything now is a disorder or a disease or a cause of A. Everything that you do has a cause for you having done it. It goes all the way back to, I robbed banks because my parents didn't raise me right. Whatever, you're shirking the responsibility of what it is that you do wrong in life on some other thing. But I'm not saying that this person in this other department is doing that. They just, they didn't honor their responsibility. They didn't do the thing they were supposed to do, which is a responsibility that we have to our customers. It's a responsibility that I have, but not just to my customers, but to people around me, to do the things that I say I'm going to do. One of the reasons I get this inept sense, or this innate sense, inept is a different term. I'm not inept, I promise. This innate sense of, wow, that's bright. Personal responsibility is because when I was fairly young, 13 to be exact, my father passed away. My shades here, bright as all shit. And I was promised a lot of stuff by a lot of people, most of which never happened. And I've mentioned this to other people before in my life who all know this, that, it's why I come back to personal responsibility a lot, because I could have taken that a very different direction. I could have taken that to a direction of, well, hell, nobody else gives a shit, why should I? Instead, what I took that is wrong for people to treat me that way. That is wrong for people to not own up to the responsibilities that they have set forth for themselves to me. They told me they were going to do something and they didn't do it. And that is wrong. And I took from it the way that made me feel into adulthood, and understanding that you just cannot do people that way. You can't treat people that way. Unfortunately, I'm just saying that's where I get my sense of responsibility. There's also a little bit of my dad in me in that, one of the things that he instilled in me from a young age is sort of do your best, do it right the first time, and you don't have to do it a second time. again, that creates a work ethic in me. It creates a, that's something that doesn't get instilled properly, I think, in a lot of today's youth. Is that do it right the first time, and if you want something done right, you do it your damn self. But one of the commercials, and the reason I'm doing this too, is I saw a commercial yesterday on, well, I've seen this commercial several times. Addiction is, Addiction is a disease. And then at the end of it, it has this person that's like, if only my insurance covered. First of all, addiction is a choice. Now, yes, there are addictive personality types, and there are people who don't know how to switch things off. But HIV is a disease. Polio is a disease. These are things that, these are viruses that can be treated with medication. You don't choose to pick up a bottle of polio and drink it. You contract it. You don't choose to get bitten by a tick and get Lyme disease. You contract it. You don't choose to get cancer. You contract it. You choose to pick up a bottle. You choose to pick up a heroin needle. You choose to make bad choices in life. And by saying addiction is a disease, and saying it so emphatically on that commercial, I want to reach through the screen and strangle that dude every time he says that. Because all that is it takes personal responsibility and separates it from the individual making the choice. I don't want to belittle anyone who is struggling with addiction, because addiction is a difficult thing to deal with. But it absolutely 110% is not a motherfucking disease. You choose to pick up that bottle or that needle every time you do it. And I don't care what some psychologist tells you to help you justify your choice and to help you deal with your demons in life. You did not contract alcoholism. You couldn't deal with something in your life at some point. You picked up a bottle and it made you feel better. You realized that you liked that feeling and you kept doing it. At its core, that is what you did. Now, because I have to get on the freeway the rest of the way home, and because I don't want to touch my phone, I'm going to pull over in this parking lot right here. And I'm going to tell you not to touch your phone while driving. It's dangerous, it's stupid, and it's illegal in many areas, including Texas now. Do not drive and mess with electronics. Do not drive distracted. Do not drive drunk. Do not drive on any other sort of addictive substance, aside from maybe caffeine. That having been said, thank you for watching Bailey's Last Mile. Today, Bailey's First Mile on the way home. Later, y'all.